Today, we're going to talk about something so simple, so fundamental, that most of us barely even think about it, and that's water. We're going to uncover how this one basic element can really unlock a more focused, more energized you. Just a quick heads up, this is all for educational purposes and of course, isn't a substitute for professional medical advice. Okay, let's get into it.
So let me ask you something. Does this sound familiar? You get what feels like a full night's sleep, but you still wake up feeling like you've barely rested at all. You're just dragging yourself through the morning, maybe reaching for that cup of coffee before your eyes are even fully open.
Or how about this one? That frustrating brain fog that just rolls in around midday, where your thoughts feel fuzzy and they just won't connect? You're trying to focus, but it feels like there's a cloud in your head, maybe with a dull headache that just hangs around.
And what about your mood? You ever find yourself feeling just on edge? Snapping at little things, or just carrying this low-level anxiety that you can't quite put your finger on? You feel stressed, but there's no obvious reason why. If you found yourself nodding along to any of that, I promise you are not alone. And the good news is, the solution probably doesn't involve some complex new routine or a huge lifestyle change. In fact, the answer might be right here, in a simple glass of water.
The culprit is very likely something called chronic mild dehydration. Now, we're not talking about serious, in-the-desert kind of dehydration. This is a much quieter, low-level state where your body is just 1 to 2% below its happy water level. It's so subtle that you often don't even feel thirsty, but all the science shows it's more than enough to mess with how you think and feel.
To really get why this happens, we have to go back to basics. I mean, the most basic building block of our bodies. Because as it turns out, water is literally the foundation of our well-being.
Think about it. Our bodies are, on average, 60 to 70% water. It's involved in nearly every single thing our body does, from controlling our temperature to moving nutrients around and flushing out toxins. It's not just part of us. In a very real way, it is us.
And this gets even more critical when we look at our body's command center, the brain. It's over 70% water, which is a higher concentration than the rest of our body. And that makes it incredibly sensitive to even the smallest change in hydration.
Now this is kind of wild, but here's what actually happens. When you're even just a little bit dehydrated, your brain tissue can temporarily shrink. I mean, it literally, physically pulls away from your skull, just a tiny bit. It sounds pretty dramatic, I know, but it's a real measurable effect, and it has some very noticeable consequences.
And that, right there, is the link. That physical shrinkage is what leads directly to all those feelings we talked about at the beginning. Those tension headaches, that's your brain physically reacting. That brain fog and trouble focusing, yep, that's a direct drop in your cognitive performance. Even that anxiety and irritability, it all tracks back to your brain being, well, thirsty.
Okay, so if feeling thirsty isn't the first sign, what is? How are we supposed to know we need more water? Well, the trick is to learn how to listen to your body's quieter, more subtle signals.
This is such a powerful reframe. The next time you feel overwhelmed by stress, just pause for a second and ask yourself, could this actually be thirst? That afternoon slump that makes you feel totally wiped out? Could it be thirst? And how about that sudden, intense craving for something sweet? Believe it or not, your body might just be asking for water. It's a simple check-in that can honestly change everything.
So here are a few more of those hidden signs to look out for. We've talked about fatigue and headaches, but also pay attention to physical cues like a dry mouth or lips. And a classic one is dark-colored urine. Even your skin can tell you what's going on. As our body's biggest organ, it's often one of the first places to show dehydration, looking a bit dull and tired.
And this brings us to maybe the single most important thing to remember from all of this. I want you to think of thirst not as an early warning, but as an alarm that's already going off. Our goal isn't to wait for that alarm to sound. The goal is to be proactive, to hydrate consistently so that alarm never has to ring in the first place.
All right, so we get the why. Now let's dive into the how with some really practical, simple habits that you can actually stick with to start feeling better.
You know how you always hear drink 8 glasses a day? Well, you can kind of forget that generic rule. A much more personalized, scientific way to approach this is to aim for about 30 to 35 milliliters of water for every kilogram you weigh. This gives you a specific, measurable target that's actually tailored to you.
And here are 5 core principles to make that happen. First, start your day with a glass of water. It rehydrates you after sleeping and wakes up your whole system. Second, sip throughout the day. Your body actually absorbs water much better in small, steady amounts than in one big gulp. And remember this cool trick.
You can eat your water. Things like cucumbers, strawberries, even soups, they're amazing sources of hydration.
Look, building a new habit is all about making it ridiculously easy. So here are a few simple ways to do that. Just keep a water bottle on your desk or in your bag. Out of sight really is out of mind. Or try tying it to something you already do without thinking. Every time you check your phone, take a sip of water. It's a technique called habit stacking, and it works like a charm.
All right, for this last part, I want us to shift our perspective just one more time, because this isn't about adding another chore to your never-ending to-do list. It's about seeing hydration as a simple, powerful, and gentle act of self-care.
Let's really let that sink in for a moment. This is not another box you have to check off. It's not something to feel guilty about if you forget. It is a genuine opportunity to care for your body from the inside out.
And this really gets to the heart of it. Every single time you pause to take a sip of water, you are performing a small act of kindness for yourself. You are actively nourishing your cells, supporting your brain, and sending a very clear signal to your body that says, I'm listening. You are being cared for.
You know, we're always being sold the next big thing, right? Complicated supplements, expensive wellness gadgets. But so often, true, lasting well-being comes from just mastering the basics. It comes from honoring the simple, foundational needs of our bodies.
You don't have to go out and chug a gallon of water right now. The journey to feeling clearer, calmer, and more energized can begin right in this moment, with just one single mindful sip. It's that simple, and that's what makes it so powerful.
So I'll leave you with this one question. As you move through the rest of your day, what's one kind sip you can take for yourself right now?